Matheus Cunha to Manchester United. We know that United have had meetings this week that have gone well. They're progressing on the deal for Cunha. They have the verbal agreement. Cunha's already said yes to Manchester United, but he's agreed his salary. He's agreed his 5-year deal. There's a few final details to hush out. And then Cunha looks set to be Manchester United's man. What is happening? What are those final details? Why is it taking a bit longer? And what do we know? Is Delap going to be the next signing? What is the latest on Liam Delap? Manchester United had scouts at the Real Betis Fiorentina game. Are they watching Cardoso, Antony? Is there anybody else that they are watching at that game? We're going to talk about Casemiro and the truth about what's been going on behind the scenes, which is pretty incredible. Betis are going to do everything they can for Antony and JJ Gabriel, the 14-year-old wonder kid, and just everything amazing he's been doing. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your Manchester United news, transfer news, and 10-minute roundup. But we're going to round up all the latest Manchester United news coming in last night and this morning in 10 minutes for you guys, starting with the big stories on Cunha. So this came in from Rudy Galletti late last night, who works with quite a few big outlets and, you know, has been quite good throughout the last transfer window in regards to Manchester United. He said that United have offered Cunha a 5-year deal until 2030. He said the club is willing to pay the 62.5 million release clause, preferred the deferred payment to help PSR. Basically, he's saying we're willing to pay the release clause, but we want to pay it in installments. He's saying the key salary details already agreed for 5-year deal. Very positive progress in last meeting. Only minor personal terms left to finalise. Confidence in full agreement soon. So what is being said there? Well, essentially, it's being said that there's a 5-year deal and a salary that's already been agreed upon. Cunha's happy to sign the salary. He's happy to sign the 5-year deal. You know, it's basically pretty much done in terms of personal terms. But there's just a few minor details of personal terms left to agreed. Now, those minor details will include bonuses for maybe how many goals or assists he gets, potential losses if we finish, you know, below a certain position, maybe a 15% salary cut if we're not in European football. It also may include a clause. This is George Mendes. He often includes his clauses in his clients, and it might be a situation of, well, actually, if Man United is still crap in 2 seasons' time, there could be a 70 million clause in Cunha's deal, which means he could go elsewhere. They're sort of the minor details, but the 5-year deal has been agreed. The salary has pretty much been agreed. It's just the final details to agree personal terms, but apparently personal terms have already verbally been agreed, according to Matheus Cunha. Manchester United have already finalised the verbal agreement with Cunha. United intend to pay a 62.5 million release clause in the coming week, was said by Matheus Cunha. What we know essentially is Manchester United want Cunha. They want Cunha early. They want him before the transfer window opens. They've pretty much got everything agreed between them and Cunha and George Mendes on that side. Once that's officially agreed, when the final details are wrapped up, they're going to go to Wolves. They're going to make a bid, and they're going to get the deal done. So I did a little roundup on everything that's been said on Cunha and some information I had got. Cunha wants to join United even without European football. He loves the club. He wants to join. It doesn't matter if we get knocked out by Bilbao or we lose the final. He wants to come. The deal is taking time due to contract negotiations. Could that Man United include a wage drop if we don't get European football? Could Cunha want a potential release clause in case we're 15th place in 2 years' time or we get relegated? He probably would. You know, Cunha wants a strong wage package. You know, he'll want, you know, all of that, and that has been agreed. The salary and the details has been pretty much agreed. Says, you know, Rudy Galletti, says many sources. You know, Cunha, of course, wants a strong wage packet. George Mendes has a good relationship with United, but he's going to be trying to get Cunha the best deal we could. The wages and the length of the contract, 5 years, and the wages apparently have been agreed. I can't tell you what those wages are, but I'm going to assume they're in the 150 to 200k mark. I'm going to assume around 180k a week. I don't think it will be Marcus Rashford, Casemiro level wages. I think it will be somewhere around the 180k a week mark. Once agreement with Cunha is finalised, United will then submit the bid to Wolves. The deal was basically 98%. Once we've done these final 2%, we're going to submit the bid to Wolves. The meeting has gone well. The final details are being ironed out, and we're working early to have the deal ready for the start of the transfer window. So, big movement here. I think it's basically a race with all these journalists. Like, all these journalists know that United are probably going to get Cunha unless something crazy happens. They're just waiting for that breakthrough. It's more not if, it's more when. It's like the deal is set to happen. It's just when the deal is set to happen. And I feel like all these journalists are just sitting there waiting for that Cunha breakthrough so they can be the first to report on the story. Rudy Galletti is sort of the first to sort of touch upon that. Look, it's the personal terms pretty much done. The deal and the salary's been agreed. They're just the final details for the personal terms. I'm sure we could get any day now official from Romano or Ornstein that personal terms have been done. But it looks to be moving, and honestly, we could wake up tomorrow and the next thing there could be here we go. We might have to wait 2 weeks. You just don't know with United. What else we know is that the suggestion is that Man United want to complete the deals of Cunha and Delap early in the window, even before any sales. David Ornstein said this last week, and this was significant because in the past, Manchester United have waited till they sell to buy players, and then they've gone and lost out on players. Michael Elise, a big example of a good player we lost out on because we were faffing around with what, I think when we sell to buy, it makes it harder. We do things later in the window. We don't have players for pre-season. It's difficult. Ben Jacobs also basically repeated what David Ornstein said, saying that United are able to fund both Cunha and Delap before any outgoings. Even, and one of them, I think one that might have been Ornstein that said this, even without European football, we'll look to fund those 2 deals, sell, and then see who else we can fund. But United look very much like Cunha, 62 million clause, Delap, 30 million clause. We've got to act quick on these clauses because Elise had a clause and we didn't act quick. So we went to buying because we focused on selling first. We need to act quick on these clauses, then sell. Let's do this, let's do that. That seems to be the stance of United. I know they want Cunha and then they're going to go for Delap. We know Cunha wants United. Delap is waiting to the end of the season to see who's got European football. So we might not get Delap. But what I think, and what I wrote here in red, is I think Ineos already know who they want this summer. We know that they want Delap and Cunha, but I think Ineos know what centre mid they want. I think they know what centre back they want. I think they know if Onana goes, what goalkeeper they want. I think they might be knowing, oh, I like this player and that player. We might make a move if we make this much through sales. Mastantuono, for example, they might. I think Ineos have 6 or 7 names that they like. They've got the main 2. They've got 3 or 4 other names that they're like, and then they've got a few other names that are like, And I think once they know if they've got European football, once we know how easy it is to sell Sancho, Rashford, Antony. Sancho's looked a lot better at Chelsea, which is good. Antony doing well at Betis, and although Rashford's injured, I think he did enough at Villa. I think once United know that they can sell those players, let's say we win the Europa League, we've got this and this, I think Man United will then sort of know what else they can do on top of Delap and Cunha. But I think Man United are sort of sitting there thinking, well, Delap and Cunha is who we want. But I think Ineos have 3 or 4 other names that haven't been named yet by journalists that they know they want. And I think there's quite a bit of organisation this summer window inside United to be going for Cunha this early and then also hoping to go for Delap. Says to me, United are organised. Tell me the last transfer window that you think we've been organised, because I can't. Like, for me, this could be a horror transfer window, you never know. But right now, this feels like the most organised United have ever been in my lifetime that I remember going into a transfer window. And that's a good thing, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy with Wilcox, I'm happy with Broad, I'm happy with that. Who else could be watching? Because I'm sure Indians have another few names on their list. Romano said that Vival was in attendance at the game versus Betis and Fiorentina in the Conference League to follow players. He, of course, will be looking at Antony and a couple other players. But interestingly, Sam C, who works for the United Stand, that gets quite a bit of information and normally pretty credible, did actually mention last week that United have been scouting Cardoso. It's now been confirmed by Romano that we're scouting Betis games, which could link to Johnny Cardoso. Now, if you don't know who Johnny Cardoso is, he's a central midfielder, more of a DM that is from the USA. I'm just going to Google his age. He is 23 years of age. I believe he's 6'1". Now, he scores a few goals from corners, is a threat on set pieces, defensively good, off the ball. His intelligence is pretty good, very comfortable passing the ball, progressing the ball forward. I like Cardoso. I do think there's elements of his game where if he got pressed and, he has to turn out, he might struggle. He hasn't got that Gravenberg when it comes to turning out. But I think he's a very good player. I think he's an exciting midfielder, and I think he has that quality on the ball that potentially we lack. So I think that could be one to watch. But Tottenham, in a 2-week period at the end of June and beginning of July, have a 25 million clause where if they want to buy him, it will cost them 25 million euros. And if Manchester United make a bid for Cardoso, Tottenham have the opportunity to accept that bid. To match that bid. Tottenham have something where, like, if Man United make a bid and Real Betis accept, Tottenham also allowed an opportunity to match that bid, and Real Betis would have to accept that. So Tottenham always sends the favourites with Cardoso, but you never know. We're also watching Edison, so that could be one to keep an eye on, but that might depend on funds and UCL football. So let's talk about Casemiro, because Casemiro is a player that we look to be selling to get off the wage bill. He looked almost done 2 months ago, but he has been looking so much better lately. Luckhurst said this, that Amorim's been impressed by Casemiro's attitude and work ethic. He noted his professionalism during his time on the bench. Carrington staff see Casemiro as highly respectful, and he's praised for doing what he can to protect the club's image. Romano also said something similar. 2-3 months ago, Casemiro looked done. He wasn't getting any minutes. He wasn't coming off the bench, but he always remained professional. Even when he wasn't playing any minutes, he always remained professional, hardworking, training well, leading by example, not trying to ruin Man United's image. And that's really good. That's really good. And obviously, when you win that many Champions League and you have that kind of success at Real Madrid, you've got to be a professional player. But I think having players like Casemiro, even though he's on ridiculous wages and even though he's been a liability earlier in the season, I think his leadership, you cannot undervalue. He was so key to that comeback versus Lyon. When we were crap in the first 20 minutes versus Bilbao, he showed up. I think Casemiro and Bruno's leadership, especially when we've got a young squad, a squad that's learning, is so valuable. I like Casemiro. I just don't like the wages that he's on. And I like how he's been performing lately. I think we'll probably look to sell him. I think him playing better lately will increase our chances of being able to sell him. We'll have to wait and see. But he's regarded as being one of the most respectful players around Carrington, according to Samuel Luckhurst. The final stories I want to cover is on Antony. Romano said the desire at Real Betis is to do everything possible to keep Antony at the club. Betis is said to be more than happy with him. We basically know this. Betis love Antony. I think they inquire to see if they can have him on loan for another year because they don't want to pay up. If you love Antony that much, pay up. I know it's expensive. I know you're not a club with a load of money, but if you love Antony as much as you say you love Antony, pay up because we want the 30 million quid. There's other clubs interested in Antony which could pressure Betis into paying up. And actually, this was the last story. JJ Gabriel, 14-year-old JJ Gabriel scored for under-18s yesterday against Stoke. JJ Gabriel in the under-18s Premier League has played 46 minutes, has scored 3 goals. He's only 14 years of age at under-18s level. He is a fantastic level player, and I'm hoping Manchester United can keep him. Barcelona are interested. A lot of top clubs are interested. We've just sort of got to hope that Manchester United can keep on to this player. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below on the news. See you next time. Bye.